Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Triple N Media. I am Dr. Nick Nickham, and today we are going to test drive my brand new Nikon D750 and look at the first set of random pictures and learn something from them. So let us begin. As you can see, I have a camera here which is Nikon D750 with a kit lens that came with the camera, which is 24 to 120 millimeters f4 fixed lens. Okay, here is the first picture taken using Nikon D750. Let's look at the camera settings. Here, the exposure is 1/30th of a second at f4, focal length 35 millimeters, and ISO of 100. This is an important thing to remember because when you get the camera, the ISO is set at 100 and all pictures are going to look fairly dark. So it is best to spend some time doing all the settings like you had in your previous camera to the new camera, that is D750, before you start taking pictures. Otherwise it may be little discouraging. So here is the next picture. As you can see, again this was taken at 75 millimeters, little zoomed in, ISO of 100, and Nikon same lens which was used, and there was no flash used. So let's move on to this one here, and this looks a little brighter, but it is out of focus. But more importantly, what we want to look at is this is 1/30th of a second, 75 millimeters. By increasing the by increasing the ISO to 1000, now we can see there is some better delineation of the objects in the picture, and of course this was taken with the same lens, 24 to 120 millimeters. Let's look at the next picture. Now we have a much better picture, and let's look at the settings here. It is 1/30th of a second, f4.0, which is going to be fixed because the lens is fixed. ISO is 100, and with a better focus we got a much better image of the picture, but still it is not really bright and crisp, and you can see the picture looks a little bit to the yellow tinge, which may be suggesting some underexposure, and we'll see what we can do to improvise on this. Here's another picture where again no flash was used. By just increasing the ISO, we have been able to improve the quality of the image. And here's the next one, which is the same situation, ISO of 100. Now it is more zoomed into the picture here, the heart picture, and the focal length is 98 millimeters at this time. If you look at this one, again we have a heart model here. I'm a cardiologist, that's why you're seeing a bunch of heart pictures here. And the setup here is 1/30th of a second, f4, 120. So it's completely zoomed to the maximum zoom capacity of this particular lens. And of course we have not used flash, so which is pretty good, because with f4.0 I can get much better pictures in this camera compared to my D7200. Let's move on, and here's another picture which is again maximum zoom to 120 millimeters, 1/30th of a second, and ISO is still 1000. And again, remember, we have not used flash in these pictures so far. Here's a picture which was taken with the table which was in front of the sofa, and the setup here is 1/20th of a 1/30th of a second, f4.0, 120 millimeters, and ISO of this one 1000. Flash did not fire. So let's move on and look at the next set of picture here, which I would like to show you. And let's look at this picture. A dramatic difference from the previous pictures we saw. What made the difference? Yes, flash. So let's look at some of the numbers here. 1/25th of a second shutter speed, f4.0, no change there, 46 millimeters. That's a third of the way from 24 and 120 millimeters. Now I jacked up the ISO to 4000. So now we are getting almost a clear picture of the same scene by doing minor adjustments. Okay, let's look at this picture. We got a very much better rendition of what we were seeing before, and let's look at and see what was the difference. Again, it is 1/20th of a second at f4.0, and the focal length is 46 millimeters, and the ISO was 4000, and the flash did fire. So that's one important aspect to remember. Here's the next picture, which has much better delineation of the bookshelf, and again the same settings as the previous one, namely 1/25th of a second, 98. So it's a little more zoomed in, and still we have very good clarity of the images. The flash did fire, and of course the lens is the same thing. Now let's look at this picture, which was taken at a distance of 98 millimeters. That means it's fairly zoomed into the object, and as we can see, the ISO was 4000, and we did use the flash. So right now we getting fairly good pictures on the first run using a D750 camera by making adjustments to the shutter speed, making adjustments to the ISO, because the f-stop is fixed, so we don't have to worry about one thing. The only other thing that we haven't tried is using exposure compensation, and we're going to look at that in a different video. So I'm going to stop here and summarize that when you get a camera, the ISO is set to 100. Even if you use existing flash or you attach another flash, external flash, the images are going to be less than optimal. So you have to play with the ISO. As I said, the f-stop is fixed. The shutter speed can be varied. And the third component that you need to worry about is the ISO. So I would set the ISO to auto and then increase the maximum to like 8000, so that you can begin to see some light into your pictures and learn from those, and finally start doing some fine adjustments. As I said, I got a long list of almost 300 pictures. We'll come back in the next episode and look at the other pictures and see what we can learn from those pictures. And I'm also going to show you a pretty high-tech flash, which can output 10 times that of a regular flash. Okay, until that time, I am Dr. Nick Nickum, and thank you so much for watching, and please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will see you next time. Thank you so much for your time.